Welcome, everybody. John Irvos here. Ukraine update and a little bit of other news update as well. I'm in Washington, D.C. It is 6 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. Take a couple minutes to introduce yourselves if you would. I'm going to get TikTok going. We like to wait a couple minutes just to have folks filter in from our various streaming services. Excuse me. I'm going to have an allergy thing tonight because I'm eating little bits of chocolate to try to perk me up. We had grass-fed, you're first. You beat Manda Bear. Congratulations on TikTok. Hey, TikTokers. How are you all? Hi, Atlanta. As always, TikTokers, if you'd introduce yourselves, maybe where you're from. We'll wait a couple minutes to start just so we give people a chance to actually get online and join us. Just waiting for Welsh. Waiting for me to speak Welsh. I'd have to Google that. Oh, Otan Bat. Hello from Norway. We hope to welcome you soon to NATO if Turkey stops playing games. Irish Johnny, exactly. You should be Irish Johnny and Welsh Johnny would be the easier. Or Welsh John, I guess, maybe not Johnny. Thank you for the hat, Laka. Appreciate it. I'm not early today. Maybe you're early. This is when I normally do it, 6 p.m. Eastern. What else is going on? Hey, everybody. This is our nightly Ukraine news update with a little bit of other news thrown in. I know the other John is Welsh. I remember now. Hey, all. Hello, TikTok. And all of you here. Oh, but yes, we had a nice day today. We did a 3.5-hour watch party. I'm exhausted for the congressional hearings today, so I'm a bit exhausted. Hey, M4T. I think I even remember your name from before, even though I can never pronounce that. But yes, I'm a little exhausted after our 3.5-hour marathon watching the hearings this afternoon. I brought myself some chocolate to munch on, hoping it's going to wake me up. I think 3.5 hours might be a bit much for me. It kind of knocks me out for the rest of the day. Nope, good that you got the Twitch notification. So yeah, so excuse my rudeness in eating chocolate, but I'm hoping it wakes me up. Oh, funny. Oh, that's interesting, Matt. Oh, duh. You're right, M4TT, Matt. I should have seen that. Actually, now that I took my glasses off, it looks more like Matt. That's very funny. Trump is not going to jail yet, but, no, I only have my 2 cappuccinos in the morning. So, but I know you're feeding a sparrow. Wow. Oh, turn the camera around. Very good, Anthony. You are correct. Boom. There's the camera turning around. Very smart of you. Anyway, yeah, I'm just tired. That was long this morning. It was interesting and fun, but it's just long, man. Hello, Wales, Australia. Just so folks know, we usually take a couple minutes just to have folks filter in. I think we're almost there. Maybe another minute. Maybe go another minute. So hang on there on TikTok. Don't abandon me yet. Because it just takes a few minutes for people to filter in. Oh, what is Matt saying here? UK press, times are starting to downplay the potential outcome. Early optimism is dried up and the story is starting to slide down. Well, we'll talk about it. I think the optimism has dried up because people now realize it's going to be a much longer slog, which they probably should have thought in the beginning, but nonetheless. But we can talk about it. Anthony Bourdain, other people, it's funny. I don't see it, but I get a lot of people saying they think I look like Anthony Bourdain because of the hair, I guess. And I totally don't see it, but it cracks me up because somebody just said it there. And I've gotten it repeatedly, which is why it's funny. Hey, Amanda on Facebook. What else? All right, guys. I think I'll start with the explanations. Who am I? I am John Aravosis, a longtime political guy in Washington, D.C., about 30 years now. Strong foreign policy background, but also background in the media, working for the U.S. Senate as a lawyer. I've worked at the United Nations, done a lot of work for nonprofits. We call NGOs, you call them internationally, on internet and politics issues. And I decided to turn my TikTok feed over from just covering news in general to looking at Ukraine news while the war is going on, at least for now, to use my background to help synthesize the news, tell you guys what's important, and again, synthesize what the experts are saying and kind of where things are. So that is who I am, and that is what we do. And I might as well start now. We spend about 20 minutes or so with me giving you guys the latest news for the day. And then we go into a question and answer period where I answer your questions about anything dealing with these topics. And we kind of have fun. We go back and forth. You guys chime in, and it's interesting. So that is who we are. To submit questions on TikTok, you guys may recall that TikTok got rid of the Q&A button, or they are getting rid of it slowly on the lives. So what I'm asking folks to do on the lives is, hang on, I'm going to show you my profile, is go on the profile and you will see that red line. Like, there it is, the red line. And in that red line, you see Q&A. Kalisperas, and you see the Q&A. Click the Q&A and it will allow you to give me a question. And it puts your question in the feed, which is nice because it's a long list of questions. And that way it's easy for me to see them later. And I can even, I will also try to go through the questions and answer them from time to time in my videos as well. So it makes it very easy that way. On YouTube and LinkedIn and Twitch and everything else, you can simply use the post a comment button. And I always say for gifts on TikTok, I will always try to make a quick little, I will always try to make a quick little acknowledgement of your gift because I appreciate it, assuming I'm not in the middle of looking down at something. And on YouTube, if you do the, lots of Facebook's weighing in. Look at that. On YouTube, if you do the super chat question, which I very much appreciate, I will get to it as the next question, almost guaranteed. If I miss it, the moderators will point it out, but it's a way to guarantee that I get to your question because we get too many questions. There's no way to do them all every time, and it's a nice way to support my work, which I appreciate. So let me dive right in, guys. The little bit of economic news, because again, I'm trying to sort of hit a little bit of other news too, even though our main news is Ukraine. The S&P 500, which is the gauge of the 500 top companies here in America, stocks dropped 3.9% today, a rather large, scary drop. We are solid in bear market territory, meaning that the market has dropped 20%. The biggest problem for the market today was fears about growing inflation. I've mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it here, but I did do a video on it. The latest inflation numbers were not great in the US. I think they were 8.6%. They were supposed to go down this month. They did not go down. They actually went up, and that was bad. So the markets are worried now that the Federal Reserve is going to have to increase interest rates more than was planned. And that means that the markets themselves are reacting out of a little bit of fear. Long story, we don't have to get into all of it since today's mostly a Ukraine day. But in principle, the stock market tries to not build in, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm losing my words tonight. I'm tired. But they try to take into account the news before it happens. So it's already baked into the stock prices that they're going to be raising interest rates. But when they see this really bad inflation figure no one expected, the markets go, holy crap, they're going to raise interest rates more than we planned for. So the market goes down. That's the simple explanation. The January 6th committee also met today. We had a meeting about that. Not a meeting, but a hangout about that. I will make a note here. If you guys remind me, let me talk about that at the end, because I didn't want to spend too much time doing non-Ukraine at the beginning, but I will do January 6th at the end of the talk. So let's jump right in. Ukraine's Zelensky's office is asking very strongly to NATO to provide more weapons. They say they need 1,000 howitzers, which are artillery systems. They need 500 tanks. Ukraine is also planning to request 200 to 300 multiple rocket launchers. The multiple rocket launchers are the systems that that Biden just agreed to send over. Remember, a week and a half ago, the news was kind of going back and forth whether he was going to send them, and Biden said yes, he's sending them. And we were very glad because it's really important these get sent. The concern we've got, and let's see what happens, is Biden has so far promised to send 4. And he sent 4. They're in Europe somewhere. The Ukrainians are undergoing testing or training on them. And we are hoping a lot more than 4 get sent. The Ukrainians say they need 200 to 300. The Brits are also sending some. The Brits, at least to start with, are only sending 3. So again, we're talking 7 of like 200 to 300 that they need. So it's great. It's clearly not enough. The Ukrainians are also saying they need 2,000 armored vehicles. You'll recall that Greece was about to send 200, and then that got stopped because the Greeks say, fouled up the deal, and 1,000 drones from NATO. In terms of the fighting on the various fronts, there isn't a lot of news today, really. As you'll recall, the biggest sort of fronts in the war right now, Moose and Squirrel, the biggest fronts in the war right now, around Kharkiv, which is the second largest city of Ukraine, around Severodonetsk, right here in eastern Ukraine, and Kherson, right here in the south. And some around Zaporizhia too, but Kherson, there's more. What we are seeing is no big change here. In terms of Severodonetsk, which is that big town that, I shouldn't say big town, it's a town of 100,000 people, but there's been a lot of fighting going on. That's the one that everyone's talking about the last couple of weeks. It still looks like the Russians control about 2/3 of it. It still looks like the Ukrainians control about 1/3. The estimate yesterday from Western military sources was that Ukraine was going to be able to hold the town for about 1 week more. And there's a lot of thinking, and I would agree, that the Ukrainians are trying to make it as painful as possible for the Russians, because the Russians are spending pretty much the best troops they have left and the best equipment they have left, they're using in Severodonetsk. And they're spending so much on this, frankly, way more than it's worth. I mean, it's strategically important, but it's not that important compared to what the Russians are spending. And the hope is that this will tire the Russians out so much they will not have additional good troops. They will not have additional good weapons, so that hopefully the Russians will now have to dig in after this. I mean, they're going to keep pushing, but for all intents and purposes, they're going to have to dig in, and then it's the Ukrainians' turn to start attacking and getting their land back, assuming the Ukrainians get enough of the kind of weapons they need. Specifically in Kharkiv, the Russians are trying to push the Ukrainians back from the Russian border. Just to sort of tell you a little more here. So in Kharkiv, the Russians came down and thought they were going to pull the same game they did when they went after Kyiv, the capital. Remember, in the first 3 days, Putin was going to win Kyiv and take it over, and the Ukrainians spoiled their plans, and over the next several weeks just botched everything and ended up pushing the Russians completely back across the border. Amazing what they did here. Well, the Russians tried a similar move around Kharkiv, and it similarly blew up in their faces. So now the Russians are along the Russian border here, a little bit north of Kharkiv, sort of to the east, and the Russians are not very happy that the Ukrainians are on their border, because as much as, well, who knows? I mean, the Ukrainians could try to take some Russian land. I think NATO's afraid of them doing it, but honestly, it'd be a bit ballsy if they did it, if they went in and took some Russian land and said, you know what? You got our land, we got your land. Again, I don't think the NATO folks would be thrilled, but I might get a chuckle out of it. So that's what's happening in Kharkiv. Oh, the other news from Kharkiv is Amnesty International says that Russia has been conducting indiscriminate attacks on Kharkiv. Indiscriminate means they don't care who they hit, including civilians. Like, they literally don't care if they hit civilians. They're just sending the weapons to go anywhere. And let me rephrase that, actually. It's not a matter of they don't care if their legitimate military strikes kill civilians. The Russians are literally paying, I'm reading people's tweets. The Russians are literally sending weapons willy-nilly, not caring where they go, because they're imprecise weapons. They're just throwing it to destroy the town. And if it kills civilians, great. So that's the difference between, I would say, collateral damage, which is the military term for, oh, you tried to kill somebody military and you hit a civilian, to literally you're just shooting whatever the hell you can, shooting into a building and saying whatever happens happens. That's a war crime. So Amnesty says Amnesty says that on June, a report published by the NGO on June 13th details the use of missiles and widely banned cluster munitions by Russians in Kharkiv, resulting in mass destruction and civilian death. The report stated that it is critical that all perpetrators are brought to justice. In Kherson, which I had pointed out down here, in Kherson, let me see what I got here. Ukraine military stops. Oh, yeah. The Ukrainians are saying that the Ukrainian military stopped the Russians from a lot of counteroffensives the Russians were trying to do, like more than 10 of them. Tens of Russia's attempts to advance in the southern Ukraine have been stopped, President Zelensky said in an address on June 13th. Ukraine also liberated parts of Kherson Oblast, according to him. Over 1,000 settlements have been liberated across Ukraine since February 24th. I've got a little bit of news on the foreign fighters, since you guys have asked that too. The Ukrainians say that foreign fighters from 55 countries are serving in Ukraine's International Legion. 55. I did not know that. According to Damian Magru, spokesperson for the International Legion, most of the fighters come from the US and the UK. However, people from every part of the world, every continent, volunteer to defend Ukraine. He added that the International Legion is part of the armed forces, so the Ukrainian military funds it. Lithuania, good Lithuania. There's always good Lithuania news. Have you noticed that? I don't think I've ever had a piece and we've been doing this for 3 months. There has never been a bad piece of Lithuania. It's not like you say Lithuania, oh God, what do they do now? So Lithuania buys another 4 drones for Ukraine. According to Lithuanian TV, the Lithuanian public have crowdfunded to purchase 4 EOS CVTOL, don't know what they are, reconnaissance unmanned aerial vehicles valued at over $692,000, which is about the same amount in euros. An additional 2 drones will be sent in 2 months. The drones are named Magila, which is the Lithuanian goddess of death. Whoa. Who knew the Lithuanians were so dark? Mariupol, yeah, bad news from no good news from Mariupol. This is not a surprise. According to preliminary data, more than 50,000 people were forcibly deported from Mariupol. Mariupol, the town right here, this is the town where the big fight went on for 2.5 months. Remember, the 2,000 Ukrainian men fighting back against the Russians, against 14,000 Russians. I mean, something that's clearly going to be made into a movie. And it's the town the Russians have been blowing the crap out of for 2.5 months. Finally took control of it, but after destroying about 90% of the city. Thank you, Marcy. Population of about 450,000. There's probably 100,000 left in the city. So the latest data, more than 50,000 people were forcibly deported from Mariupol to Russia. And the Russian-occupied territories. The administration, this is the Donetsk. This comes from Ukrainians in the east, Ukrainian administration. The administration added that those civilians who remain in occupied Mariupol are forced to go through the so-called filtration camps where residents are interrogated and tortured. So, Jesus. So you're talking 100,000 plus citizens in Mariupol are now having to go through these filtration camps. These filtration camps are like something. Maybe they're like something out of World War II. They're certainly something out of Stalinist Russia. Basically, people they line up, you get in front of this military tribunal, thank you, Grandma, basically, and you've got to give them your phone. They put your phone into a machine, and it copies everything on your phone, I think. I don't even know what, for about 20 minutes. They especially want to look at your contacts because they look at your contacts, compare it with other contacts. And I'm sure they've got like a computer program comparing to see, we think this person's bad. Who else had them in their phone book? This kind of thing, right? So these filtration camps, they ask you questions about the Ukrainian troops. They ask you questions about your allegiances. Are you a nationalist? Do you believe in you? How do you feel about the war? Have you ever been an activist? Obviously, a lot of these questions get you disappeared. We don't know whether the Russians are killing them or what, but it's a pretty good guess what the Russians are doing. They're not exactly sending you home to mama if you disappear after telling them you're an activist or a political person or Ukrainian nationalist. So that's the latest on that. And, that's all I got for today. It was not a big news day, actually, surprisingly. I'm going to, as always, change my thermostat because, I'm either cold or hot here. And there we go. And we can jump to the questions. So this is a very early question day. Am I having a good hair day? I never know. Thank you, Cammie, for my dinosaur. Always appreciate the dinosaurs. Always lovely. Let me look here. Oh, we got 5 on Twitch. Excellent. I just like to look at it and see where people are coming from. Happy to see the Twitch folks. You are new and loved. Since I only started doing Twitch a few days ago. Make sure you follow me. Hopefully I can do the subscriber thing shortly. So yeah, let's thank you, Borderline. I will start on TikTok and Grandma with your questions. As we said, you can enter them on my profile page. Oh, actually, yeah, Big Cool. So thank you, Louie. The problem is, so I might as well say this right now. So Big Cool is asking, you were mentioning people disappearing in Russia. How did you find out about? Oh, it depends what you mean. I mean, a couple things are happening. Here's the thing. We know for a fact, well, there's several different things going on. There have been nonstop reports about activists and people like this disappearing in the Russian territory, that the Russians, we knew before the war, U.S. intelligence had leaked that the Russians were planning on arresting and making disappear, however they do that, dissidents, political people, political leaders, civic leaders. Thank you, Matt, for the hat. Civic leaders, cultural leaders, artists, politicians, but meaning local politicians, mayors, things like that, and political activists. For example, some of the people that were on the list were the political activists involved in the 2014 uprising in Ukraine. So we already knew that was on the list. And we also know, I mean, this is just from a variety of sources about these filtration camps, that they take the people they don't like and they go a different direction and people don't hear from them again. And we don't know what's happening to them. I'm guessing they're killed. Who knows? But we don't hear from them. So, there we go. Hang on here. Let me just see here. God, that's sick. Johnny Francis saying his friend is back. My mate is just back from holidays in Turkey on Italia. A lot of Russian tourists there, a lot wearing Z t-shirts, said they were really, really rude. Yeah, that would be Russians, jumping queues and shouting at non-Russian tourists. Oh boy, wish I'd been there. God, we need to, son of a B. Now I'm thinking, what we need to do? I need to start a list of things we need to do. We need to sell our own Z t-shirts. Can you imagine? Syndicate, keep this in mind since you've been helping me think this stuff through. But I mean, it's Z t-shirts that just, as the Brits would say, take the piss out of them, that just mock them incessantly, Oh, that's funny. But yeah, could you imagine the Russians coming and, oh my God, pushing. Russians think very highly of themselves. It's they think very highly of themselves. And at the same time, they're incredibly insecure. It's like I told you, it reminds me of my dog. There's an insecurity. There's like a Napoleon insecurity thing going on where they kind of know they're not as good. So they have to act even better so that they get rude and brusque because they know they're not as good as the rest of us, so to speak. It's really, I know everyone's already trying to think of t-shirts. I think we need to think of very funny t-shirts for the Z thing. We really do. This could be really good. Do I think after the meeting of oops, hang on. I was just reading your question. It flew off. Don't you think that after the meeting of US and Russian ministers of defense, Ukraine started to lose? Not necessarily. No. The thing is, I'm not, look, initially the first month, right? they had that crazy blowout north of Kyiv, the capital. I mean, and that was crazy. Nobody expected it, right? Then they had a little bit less, but a similar happen. Thank you, Alish. Happen in Kharkiv in the northeast. At the same time, the Russians have gotten territory, but we knew the Russians were going to get territory. Now, it's not a stalemate per se, and a lot of the military guys don't want to call it a stalemate, but, it kind of feels like it a little bit. I mean, they're pushing back and forth in different areas. The Russians will probably get the rest of this area around Severodonetsk that they're going after now. But beyond that, the thing we've got to keep remembering is this is Russia versus Ukraine. Russia should have won this in 3 days. They didn't. Even Russia is concerned this is going to take months and months and months now, according to the indications. So, I think all of us, myself included, got so excited with how well Ukraine was doing that now that it's becoming a much harder slog, we're almost getting depressed a little bit. I am a little bit actually. I'm kind of like, oh, this is scaring me. I'm hearing about their ammunition and I'm hearing about these things. If our governments continue to support them, I think they can hang in there and I think they can get their land back. Because again, the Russians are equally screwed right now. That's the thing. The Russians are equally screwed. They're equally tired. They're probably more tired. They're apparently losing more troops than the Ukrainians are losing, and the Ukrainians are losing a lot. And it's a matter of, will we be supplying with Ukrainians with as many weapons as they need and the quality, and rather than people slowing them down. PB&J is saying, saw on Twitter by the Kyiv Post, breaking, the European Commission will recommend granting Ukraine official EU candidate status. Interesting. Well, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily. I think we talked about this yesterday. So candidate status can last a lifetime. Turkey, you guys were telling me, Turkey got candidate status for the European Union back in 1999. It's now 23 later. Turkey is not a member yet, right? An EU member because of Cyprus and all of that. But the point is, they can welcome you in knowing damn well that it's going to be a long time before we actually welcome you fully. So I think, they shouldn't be talking about the it'll take 20 years thing, which is what the French said obnoxiously and the Austrians said. The Austrians didn't just say it obnoxiously. The Austrians decided to throw some really scary Aryan racism in at the same time from the Austrians. At least the French didn't do that. But they can discuss whether it takes 20 years or whatever when they do a peace treaty, if there's some way to do a peace treaty, but maybe. But in any case, that would be great, and it would be good news. I'd be curious though with the EU again. Thank you, Ali. How France, Germany, especially feel about that? Whether they think it's tweaking. Actually, here's a thought. First, I was thinking, would France and Germany get upset about giving Ukraine candidate status right now, saying, "Oh, you're rocking the boat. It'll upset Russia. This is the wrong time." Or get this: did the whole pacifism, appeasement thing from France? Okay, I'll stop saying France. From Macron, Scholz, and Draghi as well, not as much, but Draghi, blow up in their faces, which is why those three leaders are now going to Ukraine and why they're all putting out these amazing statements of support. In France, Macron said, "Oh, Ukraine must win, and we must never have concessions to Putin." All of that may have cinched the deal for Ukraine to get the approval next week. Didn't even think of it. Thank you, Matt. Didn't even think of it till now. That it put them in a position where those three countries couldn't say no now, because for whatever reason, all their, I say appeasement, maybe that's too harsh of a word, blew up in their face, and they're trying to show how good they are now. So, no, the EU, well, and that's the thing too. 15, 20 years may not be a long period of time for an economy. Thank you, Wanda. It's very pretty. May not be a long period of time for an economy like Ukraine. Having it, I was reading on the EU stuff, and it was quite interesting about all the things that have to happen to become an EU member. And I compared it to, imagine your country absorbing another country, basically, or absorbing another state, at least like in the US, we've got 50 states. Imagine we also adopt Guadeloupe as a state, or St. Croix, the French territory, as American. And to do that, they would have to adopt American laws, right? And forget St. Croix. Let's say France becomes the 51st American state. France would have to pass laws adopting all of our commercial standards, right? All of our product safety laws. Their laws would have to come in sync, workman laws, like that. In other words, the federal government's laws about workplace safety and about workplace protections. So to join the EU, you've got to reconcile all of your laws with their laws. That takes time, right? And anyway, it's not just the laws. So I can see why it can take a long time, but it is a very good first step if that happens. Let's hope. I mean, we've seen things blow up before. But hopefully, hopefully. Let me see here, guys. You know what? If some of the mods want to keep an eye on some of the t-shirt ideas, because I'm not like reading them all because I'm going back and forth, I would love to hear them later. Johnny Francie says the hotels are full. Turkey makes a lot of money from Russian tourists. Interesting. Okay, thank you, Matt, for my hat there. Let me jump to a TikTok question on my actual TikTok account here in the Q&A. God, I really did get it rolling. It's only going to make me more tired today. That's a good question. Why is the UN not sending inspectors to the Russian filtration camps? It ought to be the UN or the Red Cross. But, the problem is, thank you. Was it Pam Pam? I'll call you Pam Pam. The problem is the UN and the Red Cross is going to be just like them. They care about access, right? I mean, the UN cares about all of its members, but the Red Cross, my guess is, having worked at the UN now, the Red Cross relies on access. It's got to get access to these places in order to, verify the prisoners' rights are being protected and everything, or in this case, citizens' rights. And if they piss Russia off, then Russia won't give them access anymore. So all of a sudden, then they can't visit anybody to help them out, right? It's a chicken. I mean, it's a little, I get it, but it's also kind of an excuse for being weak, I think. So I don't know. I don't know whether the UN has jurisdiction. It ought to demand anyway, but they ought to be demanding and saying, because also I'm sure it's another war crime. Russia has absolutely no right to just filter every single civilian in a town and to see if they're bad guys. I mean, that's just, but again, this is Russia. Thank you for the little corgi. Oh, sorry guys. I didn't mean to cut you. Sorry, PB&J. We didn't mean to cut off your link. It's supposed to allow, now PB&J has been here repeatedly, actually Syndicate. So I'm not sure why it didn't like his link. He is a regular visitor though. That's interesting. That is interesting. It didn't allow him. Anyway, just pointing that out, Syndicate, because that's a little weird. Our little bot is screwing up on that one because he's been here enough. He should be regular. When do I think the war will end? Who the hell knows? I mean, I say that not jokingly. This thing could go on 10 years. This could be Afghanistan, where we are providing Ukrainians with weapons for a guerrilla movement that is constantly just, killing Russian troops again and again and again and destroying their weapons. And the Russians keep putting men there and we keep helping kill them. And it just is this dragged out long thing. The Russians, I will say, the Russians and the Soviets before them, right? They do have a history of being able to drag out pain. Look at the Soviet economy, right? They kept going. Their economy was in shambles, but they kept going. They kept their military going, even though it was too expensive. World War II wasn't just the Russians. The Russians like to pretend World War II was them, but World War II actually was 15 Soviet republics or so, including the Ukrainians. Actually, 25% I'd read of the of the Soviet troops were Ukrainian in World War II. Thank you, Ukraine. But you know, the different sieges that the Soviets were able to withstand from the Russians. I mean, they seem to be able to hold out. So I worry and you're dealing with a country that is a dictatorship. Putin doesn't care, I think, about his men dying. He's got to be careful because eventually it could cause a problem domestically. But currently he doesn't care. Thank you for that, Netlin. So I'm increasingly feeling like it's not going to be over anytime soon. I think maybe that's what we overestimated. I think maybe a lot of us not going into this, but seeing how well, I'm just adjusting my filter on my temperature on my phone because it's getting hot again. I think a lot of us seeing how well Ukraine was doing maybe got ahead of ourselves, hoping this could be over in a few months, that Ukraine would just keep pushing the Russians back. And I think, let's see though, because the Ukrainians surprise us. I think we're seeing exactly shot. I think we're seeing it become much more of a stalemate, so to speak. Even though the military guys, like I said, don't like the word stalemate, I'm going to use it because I think both sides are tired, they're weakened. Neither is going to be able to get a significant strategic advantage where it's like, oh my God, they took Kyiv, the capital. That's not going to be happening at this point, unless the Russians shock us with something. So that means this drags out as long as both sides are willing to fight and neither side is willing to settle. Thank you, Flower Lady, for the crane. So it ain't great. I mean, and again, hopefully we've got to keep up. Let me see here. A space was missing. Okay. Right. So I was going to say PB&J is a regular. It should have recognized that. Anya says many young Russian people do the protest, even if it means to go to prison. Not all of the Russian people are bad. No, that's very true. That's very true. And actually, I mean, I've been reporting on this. We've seen 18 Molotov cocktail attacks on Russian recruiting centers around the country for the military. We've seen a number of the troops who simply didn't want to fight. Now, they may not have wanted to fight because they didn't want to die, but I would argue thank you, Iggy. I would argue that if you thought no, YouTube is still there. It better still be there. I think so. YouTube, give me a message. I think you're still there. If you thought this was the great glorious war akin to World War II, you wouldn't be going, I'm not going to fight there, right? So I also give credit to the troops we're hearing that are standing up, and that we do keep hearing about people still getting arrested for protests. We don't hear about it a lot. There was one I saw the other day of a woman who, what was she doing? Maybe there was a recruitment sign or something at a bus stop, and she did some laying down next to it thing, maybe covered in blood or something, or, red paint. And she got arrested, of course. But no, it's happening. It's happening. The problem is we need a lot more Russians to speak up on you, and they're not. And I think that country is never going to change unless the people demand it internally. There's only so much we can do on the outside. Revolution has to happen at home, unfortunately. Thank you, Matt, for the pride flag. Those are always very welcome. I have my Star Trek pride shirt that I will wear again in a couple days, trying not to overdo it so you guys think I'm gross and smelly. The tactical. So Chris is asking, Thane maybe, is asking, do you think Russia will use tactical nukes to break up the stalemate? I don't, but well, here's the thing. I think it depends on what we do. 9 people on Twitch. Sorry, I have to keep checking Twitch. I'm so excited when we get Twitch followers. Thank you guys. I appreciate you being there. Please follow me. Russia will use nukes if we make it clear that it's okay to use nukes. Clearly, we're not going to say it's okay, but I think it depends on how much vacillation, how much fear we show. I think it was dangerous at the beginning and I fault Biden Biden did a great job corralling the world. He did a great job, but I fault Biden for saying at the beginning constantly, it's going to be World War III if we fight the Russians. And when you keep talking like that, and thank you, Grandma, for the Bohr glasses. When you keep talking like that, you send Russia a message that we are afraid of you, right? That we're afraid. Russia should be afraid of us too, right? Russia should be afraid. Biden's message shouldn't be, we're not going to do that because it would be World War III. It should be, Russia should be worried about World War III. If Russia keeps going, they're going to force NATO's hand, and that could lead to World War III. But you do it that way. You don't say, oh, we're going to get involved, but we're not going to get that involved. We're not going to give MiGs. We're not going to give tanks because that could be World War III. There was too much of that bullshit, frankly, going on that was really ticking me off. And I don't like it. In any case, so I worry sometimes, thank you, Kanausi, I worry sometimes that it's that kind of language that potentially gives Putin the sense that we're so worried, we're so afraid of him and the stuff from Germany and France, that we're so divided because we're desperate for peace, that if he were to, drop a bomb, a tactical nuclear weapon, a small nuclear weapon in Ukraine itself, that we might get mad, but we might not declare war. I mean, I don't think we're not going to declare war if he drops a nuclear. Anyway, I don't think we will. Right? I'm not sure NATO knows what it's going to do if Putin uses a small nuclear weapon in Ukraine. I'm really not sure. What are they going to do? Give him more artillery shells? I mean, it would have to be something significant. And I don't know that we know. And to me, the fact that I don't know whether we would, and what I say I don't know is meaning I'm getting mixed signals from the Biden administration as to whether and how seriously we would take Putin using a tactical nuke, means Putin probably is getting the same kind of vibe where he's going, you know what? They're not really sure. Maybe I'll get away with it. Anyway, I still think he's probably not going to. No. Jingle bells. Glad you're back. Let me grab another. Actually, I can grab some of you guys' things off the screen here too. Well, the interesting question. I mean, Blake is saying, I think a country like Poland would enact Article 5 if a nuclear weapon landed. I assume you mean in Ukraine, because in Poland, per se, it's Article 5. I mean, Putin nukes Poland and we're all at war. That's a given, right? If it's in Ukraine, it gets very interesting. I mean, you get to the question of, okay, if some of the fallout goes into Poland, is that Article 5? I mean, I think, honestly, if he uses a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, potentially you do have an Article 5 issue come up because, well, here's the thing. It may not be an attack on NATO, but I think you're at DEFCON 1 in terms of, a military term, meaning you're at red alert. I'll use my Star Trek term. You're at red alert if Putin uses any kind of a nuclear weapon in Ukraine, because then we'd better be worried about every NATO country along the border there, or the borders with Belarus as well. So the Baltics, Poland, and frankly, you're awfully close to Romania and Hungary and Slovakia as well. And, then yeah, no. Hopefully, but again, I think privately, we've probably made clear to Putin is my guess. Z for Zorro. I know, Z for Zorro. Let me look here for more questions in here. I'm trying to sort of get question, a little bit bopped around for you guys and making sure I pay attention to TikTok. I've been accused of not answering enough TikTok questions, so I am. Another good question. What is the most likely off-ramp? War exhaustion, Putin's health, small land cession. I don't see small land cession being the most likely off-ramp at this point, right? I don't see Ukraine being willing to give up land at this point. They shouldn't. Putin's death is a wild card, or it's a wild card. I don't know that we can count on it. I've had many a boss that I wish had gotten the plague and disappeared. Never worked for me. So, we can't count on it. It's possible. But there's also the problem, as we said, which is even if Putin loses his life or dies or whatever, or is replaced, it doesn't mean a worse. Okay, I missed something from Tyson. Okay. It doesn't mean that somebody better is coming next. Could be one of his other crazy conservative followers. And we've heard this, the Patrushev guy. from his Security Council could be next up on the list. And he's just as crazy as Putin, if not more, from what we hear, crazy conservative, blah, blah, blah. So doesn't mean you don't get another one, although there's a chance. I mean, a new person coming in can say, this was the old guy's war. He tried, he failed. Let's move on, right? I kind of wonder. All the questions disappeared. There we go. I almost feel like war exhaustion is still going to be the best one. And maybe it just is the Russians getting beat enough that they finally go, we can't do this anymore. Oh, Tyson, I'm sorry. I did see that. Do I have a P.O. box we can send you stuff? You can. I'm not going to. I've got my address, basically. I don't have a P.O. P.O. boxes are useless in this town. I mean, I have my own address, but I don't want to give it publicly. To you, I would. So I trust you. If that's what you can contact me later, depending what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, Jackson's saying the same thing. Putin's successor is even more radical. Now, who are you talking about, Jackson? Are you talking about Patrushev, the guy I'm mentioning, or was it somebody else? He's already made threats, Jackson's saying. His daughter is said to be taking over his position? Who, Putin's? Get out of here. No, you don't mean Putin's. Let me see what else here. John Sarge, Vladimir Putin seen shaking uncontrollably in new footage amid speculation about health rumors. John Sarge, my only question for that would be, what's the source? I don't want it from a tabloid. You're right. I don't want it from a tabloid. I want it from somewhere real. Is that from somewhere real? Let me know, because that would be interesting if it's from something that we can trust. But it almost sounds tabloidy, Let me see what else we got. All right. Just got my notification now on YouTube. How far? We're 45 minutes into this, and YouTube is finally notifying people, hey, there's a live going on that's been going on for 45 minutes. All right, guys, let me look at my questions on TikTok here again. Oops, second here. All right, that off-ramp was a good question, though. No, nothing on this yet. I mean, so again, good question. Any clarity yet on Macron, Draghi, and Scholz's reasons, the leaders of France, Germany, and Italy, reasons for finally going to Kyiv, the capital? I don't know. Up. Yay. Keep going, Twitch. Love you guys. I'm still kind of wondering. I still think that something happened that beat the bejesus out of the three of them, the French, German, and Italian leaders, to make them go to Ukraine, and they're going like in a week or so, a week and a half. But it's still, there's almost a part of me that worries too. There's a part of me, like, imagine this. Imagine that Macron came up with the idea of the visit and said, hey, let's the three of us go to Kyiv and pitch a peace plan to Zelensky. And then when we leave, we'll say we're pitching it to Putin too, right? I mean, I almost could see it being some like jerky Macron kind of move. It could be. And frankly, Scholz, I'm sorry, I don't trust Scholz either anymore. Scholz talks out of both sides of his mouth. Scholz gives real good lip service to the good stuff and then keeps screwing these deals, keeps just screwing these arms deals. So it does make me wonder if either they got put in a spot where they felt they had to show support for Ukraine, or if they're going and they're going to say something stupid. Let's say they still may say something stupid. Also, imagine Zelensky meeting with these three. Zelensky could chew these guys out. Zelensky could meet them and try to make it his staff is probably telling him, look, meet these guys and do a bear hug around them. Make it so that when they go back home, everyone thinks they've totally endorsed you, But Zelensky may also be thinking, privately, you've got to scold them for the stuff they've said. Macron, you've got to scold Macron for the stuff that they've said, I'm going to do the discussion of the hearing, Joe Da Pale Rose, at the, oh, I didn't actually. You're right. I did have that at the end. I knew I was forgetting something. I was like, why is the show going so quickly? Let me update you guys on what happened at the hearing today. Jesus. I'm sitting here going, why did my news summary end at 17 after when it never ends at 17 after? It's because I took a chunk and forgot about it. Thank you for mentioning that. All right, let me do that, and then we'll go back to the question. So, as I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened at the hearings today. As you know, and if you don't know, I'll tell you, the U.S. Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives, thank you, Carla, for the pride glasses. The U.S. Congress set up a special committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol that was intended to stop Congress from certifying Biden as president. It's a very, as you know, our election process, crazy complicated. The certification of who is the president, like the final decision, takes place on January 6th by the Congress. Trump was trying to find ways to muck it up, to stop the decision, or to get the decision to basically lie about who won. The idea was this crowd rushed in order to stop the certification from happening, to threaten Pence, to threaten the lawmakers. And again, the question is whether Trump sicked him. I mean, Trump did kind of sick him, but that's the larger question, right? So what happened in terms of the hearing today, a number of people testified. For my tastes, it was, So that committee, they set up a committee. The committee has, I don't know, 5 or 6 Democrats on it. Thank you, Crusher. 2 Republicans. The other Republicans refused to serve. Initially, and this is something people forget, initially, the Democrats and the Republicans got together. The House and Senate are run by Democrats, okay? The House Republican leader, so the minority leader, as we call it here, McCarthy, who's a Trumper, he, after the insurrection, was very good about it. He was very pissed. He said Trump is to blame. He even talked about Trump being able to need to be removed from office. Privately, he said this. So McCarthy appoints somebody to negotiate with Democrats in his name to set up this bipartisan commission to investigate what happened in this attack on our Capitol. Thank you, Madeline, for that. Well, the guy negotiates with the Republican guy, negotiates with the Democrats. Thank you, Lucy, for the pride glasses. Negotiates with the Democrat. They reach a deal. He goes back to McCarthy, and McCarthy kills the deal. McCarthy killed the deal because Trump told him to kill the deal, of course. And McCarthy went from being livid at what Trump did with the insurrection and saying Trump needs to be removed from office to literally saying we don't even want a committee, we don't even want to investigate what happened. So they refused to join in and help out. So the Democrats set up the committee anyway. Then the Republicans wanted to add 3 or 4 people who were insane. Jim Jordan's one of them, but I mean, insane people to the committee who are basically bomb throwers. They're basically political terrorists of the Republican Party. So you now have two Republicans, probably like 5 or 6 Democrats among the group. Thank you, Wandering. And they have been investigating for probably 15, 16 months now. They interviewed 1,000 witnesses, but the witnesses were all interviewed privately. So we in the public, some information leaked about what happened, but we in the public never got to see what these interviews were about, what actually happened. Well, the hearings now, this is the second day of public hearings where they are presenting the evidence publicly. Thank you, Kanausi. They are having some of the witnesses talk publicly and showing some of the testimony, the video testimony of the witnesses, okay? Today was the second day. Now, both days have been focusing very strongly on the notion that Donald Trump knew he didn't win and that, in essence, he was committing fraud, that a fraud was being committed, that Trump was not some poor guy who thought he won and was just so stupid that he didn't understand he didn't win, so that maybe some of the things he did weren't a crime. Because, right, but they keep getting at Trump's state of mind, saying he was told repeatedly by all the people, by all the numbers people, by all of his lawyers that he didn't win, and he kept saying he did, and they even said they didn't have evidence, and then he went public and said there was evidence that Trump is a liar, and that Trump committed a fraud on the American people because he didn't just, for example, trying to get Pence involved. That trying to get Pence involved when they were certifying the vote wasn't an honest Donald Trump who thought he won. It was a dishonest Donald Trump who knew he lost. And therefore, if you knew you lost and you tried to get Mike Pence to change the vote, then you literally were trying to get Mike Pence to cheat. And that's what they're doing. So in both of the hearings, it's been about fraud. Now, today specifically, we were supposed to have Bill Stepien, who was Trump's campaign manager. Stepien's wife went into labor, so he couldn't be there, but they were able to, his lawyer was there, and they were able to show video of Stepien's testimony. Stepien said that he told Trump on election night that there was no basis for declaring victory, so Trump went out and declared victory anyway. Bill Barr, Trump's attorney general, these are just a few of the highlights, said he's the one who famously said that it was bullshit that there was any evidence at all that the election was stolen. He said it was bullshit, and he told them it was bullshit. Barr said that Trump was detached from reality by continuing to claim that there was evidence of the election being stolen, that there was zero evidence that it was stolen. He said there might have been a little evidence here and there of irregularities, but evidence of that affecting the election outcome, zero. Okay. He also laughed at one point. He actually uncontrollably laughed, which was very funny. Barr did, the attorney general. And this is Trump's guy, mind you, because he was talking about, there was a conspiracy theory that the voting machines were tampered with, by evil people, and that it was a conspiracy of the CIA, the Biden people, and Hugo Chavez. Hugo Chavez, who's been dead since like 2013, that dead Hugo Chavez was working with the CIA to help steal the election from Donald Trump. And Barr literally said this and started laughing when he said it. The final thing, and this one's very interesting. Trump set up a fund, some kind of election, I forget the name, I've got to pull it up, election integrity fund or something, that was going to investigate the election, and it was going to fight for Trump to win. And the first week after the election, Trump raised $100 million. That is pretty much the same amount in euro, 100 million, okay? In the ensuing weeks, he raised another 100 million. So Trump raised over 200 million for this committee, this project that was going to investigate and fight, the election improprieties. What the committee said today was Trump raised the money for a fund that didn't even exist, It wasn't some election fighting fund. And he used the money for something other than what he said he was going to do. They used the money for other purposes, and they didn't use it for actually fighting to win the election. $200 million. Now, what is important about that is that's fraud. And again, fraud. We keep coming back to the fraud word. That's a big crime if you raised $200 million and spent it on things that it wasn't supposed to be spent on, and you defrauded people. You can go to jail for that. What finally this takes us back to, and then we can go back to Q&A and stuff, is whether Trump will be indicted. And I was saying during our talk this morning, you have a problem in America that's kind of a good thing, but it can be a problem here, that we don't go after our former leaders, okay? Legally, we certainly don't go after them, but even politically, we don't go after them. It is considered in poor taste for a sitting president to criticize the people who came before him. And it is considered, thank you, Madeline, in poor taste for a retired president to criticize former presidents or the sitting president. Very poor taste in this country. It is not done. Trump, from day one, went after Obama. Trump didn't stop going after Obama, blamed him for everything, blamed Obama for a bad economy. Obama had an amazing economy. Obama had a better economy than Trump had in all ports, other than Trump lowered the unemployment rate 1 point. Obama had unemployment down to 4.9%. Trump lowered it to like 3.9. That's it. Obama had greater growth. Obama had a much stronger economy than Trump. Trump would just lie and say, this country was a disaster, our economy was a disaster, and I saved it. He didn't. He didn't. But the larger point there isn't going after Trump about lying about Obama. It's Trump ushered in a new era that America does not do, of going after previous presidents and previous presidencies. We don't do it. He did it. I know, like in France, I know they went after Sarkozy, right? And we just don't do that here. So it's thank you for the crown, by the way, Grand Teach. Appreciate that. I saw it, but I was in the middle of saying this. So we are in a bit of a conundrum as a country, and this is the problem with Biden's attorney general. Biden's attorney general, who's the minister of justice, basically, it is an independent agency in that, sure, he works for the president, but he doesn't really work for the president. The attorney general, the minister of justice, decides on things based on the law. He does not decide on things based on what the president wants, and it actually would be considered horrific for the president to even weigh in privately or publicly on what he wants. Trump weighed in privately and publicly on what he wanted. But again, horrific. So Biden's guy is in a weird spot where clearly Trump committed crimes, but in America, we don't go after our previous presidents as a matter of custom. So what do? And the final point with that, thank you, Christy, for the hearts. The final point with that is Trump has managed to divide this nation so much to the point where we had people violently trying to overthrow the government. Thank you, Gordon. Imagine what these people are going to do, and Trump has already threatened it, if the government goes after Trump and tries to hold him accountable for his crimes. Trump has already said, several months ago, Trump already said something to the effect of, if they indict me, if they come after me, you're going to see a response like you've never seen from my people, basically threatening that his people were going to riot if he were indicted. And unfortunately, our government is worried about that too. Now, I would say screw it, because Trump not just did it once, he's planning it again. Whether it's for his own presidency or whether it's for another Republican, Trump is getting people elected around the country who have said that they will ignore the votes in the election and pick the Republican anyway. They've said that. So what worries me is if Trump is guilty of a crime, if they determine it, and if they can say that that they've got enough evidence to prove him guilty, because that's the other thing that's important, right? You have to conclude, the Justice Department has to conclude that we conclude he committed a crime, and we've concluded we have enough evidence to prove he had a crime in a court of law. But as I said, the third thing is they're worried about, will the country fall apart? I would argue the country's falling apart anyway, and this guy, the lead guy who's going to pull the country apart, is the guy who committed the very crime you're going after him for. He's planning on doing the same crime next time. And if he does, it's the end of our country. And by the way, not enough Democrats talk about this. And I've talked about it during, I think it was my live the other day, or actually, I did it during I did a 3-part video. Thank you, Madeline. I did a 3-part video on TikTok about why it's important to talk about these issues. And one of the points I raised, which Democrats don't raise, and you've got to be careful how you raise the issue. But what Trump claimed was happening is arguably worthy of violence, I would say, right? If someone is telling you that your country has been taken over in a coup d'etat, that your government leaders have all gotten together in a cabal and decided that they know who won, but they're going to pick the wrong person to be the president or the prime minister of your country, and they know this person didn't win the election, are you going to respond with candlelight vigils singing Kumbaya, right? I mean, literally a coup d'etat? So almost the beauty of what Trump did, Trump lied out of his ass, but Trump presented a lie that would understandably lead to violence, and you could argue meritoriously might lead to violence if it's a coup d'etat, right? I mean, when we look at other countries that overthrow their governments, because the government was installed illegally. We don't look at those countries and say, oh, they used violence to overthrow the military dictator. That wasn't very nice of them. I mean, come on. We sit there and go, good for you. So this is the danger. And what worries me as well is Republicans think that if they steal the election, nothing's going to happen. Democrats are going to be Democrats, and Democrats do suck a lot of times at their responses. They're very weak. They think Democrats are just going to go, okay, the Republicans stole the election. They stole the presidency. They've now had a coup d'etat, and they're not going to seat the Democrat as president. They're going to seat the Republicans, and that Democrats are going to just sit back. Well, what if Democrats don't sit back? I think, thank you, B-Dog. I think a Republican stealing the election is just that. It is an invitation to violence like we've never seen in this country. I think that's what's going to happen next if they steal the election. And they don't think it. And somebody on the Democratic side needs to start saying it more often. And I think somebody needs to go, and I've said this from the beginning, needs to go to business leaders in New York and start talking to businesses on Wall Street and top businesses around the country and saying, do you understand that we are going to have battles in the streets of this country? The entire economy is going to be shut down. If you thought Black Lives Matter was bad with the few violent protests they had, imagine what's going to happen. Imagine what's going to happen if a Republican literally steals the presidency when we know the Democrat won the election. I think the entire country shuts down and doesn't open up again. I mean, it's horrific. So, any case, but this is me. I am much more in your face about saying, tell people what's coming. By the way, Vladimir Putin, same thing. Tell Vladimir Putin what's coming. People need to know in order to avoid it. They need to know the cost. And I think business leaders, the Republicans, make a lot of money from business leaders in this country. Business leaders need to be told about how their businesses are going to be destroyed. I mean, it'll be the end of business in this country, Man. Anyway, all right. That was almost like talking about my UN work. Gets me upset talking about that stuff. All right. What else? What else? Oh, thank you. Is that Nathan? I would say Xavier. Nathan, I believe. If you're talking about me, thank you. Don't know if you were talking about me, but I appreciate it if you were. And do follow me, you Twitchers. I'm new on Twitch. I'm new as well. I am new as well. TikTok, when I heard he was on Twitch now. Oh, there you go, Jingle Bells. Thanks. Jason, let me say something here. Okay, interesting point from Jason. Democratic politicians did the same thing for the Black Lives Matter rioters as Republicans did for the January 6th rioters, but Democrats won't investigate themselves. Yes and no. I think the Black Lives Matters rioters should all have their asses thrown in jail. What they did was outrageous. We shut down many cities in this country. It was fucking rageous. I'll use the swear word, what happened. And too many Democrats were walking on eggshells because we didn't want to offend people because we were being PC. And that was bullshit. Having said that, these guys, these guys broke store windows, which again, throw their asses in jail as far as I'm concerned. But it's a far cry from violently trying to overthrow the government. These guys were guilty. Your guys, so to speak, were guilty of sedition. Both don't want to defend. Both do not want to take on their people. But you would have to find a Democratic group that tried to violently overthrow the government for there to be an actual comparison. I do think you are correct that both parties want to defend their own. You're right about that. I would hope that desire to defend your own, no matter what, would stop when violent sedition comes into play, right? Because hopefully we're all patriots. But again, I did speak out about the Black Lives Matter riots. People got pissed at me, but it was bullshit. We had a door in my building. Somebody's front door of their unit, of their condo, got bashed in, glass door, 3 a.m. by these people, bashed in. They bashed in the grocery store down the street. I mean, ridiculous stuff they did. We had downtown DC looked like a war zone. It was boarded up. That was embarrassing and should never happen. And frankly, it's. In any case, but having said that, this was not all BLM, and the BLM protests during the day were excellent. The protests at the night were the crazy people. But the day ones, I went to the day ones in DC. The day ones in DC were fabulous, were fabulous. Tanya, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say that is an absolutely ridiculous comment you made. And I'm sorry. In the spirit of me being objective, so you agree with police brutality against people of color. Where in the hell does opposing burning down some poor immigrant's business, like the Black Lives Matter folks did in New York, as I recall? I read a horrific story of this immigrant's entire business being destroyed. Where the hell does that come into being okay with police beating up and killing black people? How the fuck did you make that comparison? Don't pull that intellectual bullshit on me, because I don't stand for it. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. It's not just a false statement, it's an offensive statement. We are here to talk about the actual news, to talk about actual facts, and not to put up with bullshit from the left or the right. And that's the kind of bullshit from the left that is exactly why people did not speak out against the violence. I had people who literally argued with me and said, violence against buildings is okay. It's just property. It's okay. And literally there was first of all, give me a break. But, you literally had these people bash through the glass front door of my neighbor in my building at 3 a.m. I can't imagine what that did to this guy's sleep. But there was a story, like I said, about an immigrant. I think it was New York. And this guy lost everything he had, and he didn't have insurance because he couldn't afford it. He lost everything, this guy, because of what happened. Yeah, Mika is saying another story she saw. A video of an African-American man crying and heartbroken, completely lost his business, took him years to establish. That's the thing. These are blue-collar people, so to speak, working-class people. They put everything into their businesses just like, my immigrant grandfather did, where everything into the business. And a lot of these guys didn't have insurance. I forgot why the one guy I read about, he might have been from the Middle East, didn't have insurance, but it was like a good reason he didn't have insurance, like he couldn't get it or whatever it was, and whole building blown. They stole everything and then tore apart the entire building. Anyway, no, and it's not just uneducated jingle bells. I love that we're having this very serious topic, and I'm talking to jingle bells. At least it made me laugh and lighten up. It's not just that people are uneducated. Unfortunately, we permit the extremes of our movements we kowtow to them. And on the left, we are afraid of people were afraid of standing up to the violence because they thought, exactly like Tanya just said, that we'd be accused of being racists if we said burning down buildings, not a great idea, kind of horrific. Because then somebody would say, oh, so you think black people should be shot, like that idiot just said. And I'm not afraid of it. Too many people are afraid of it. Too many people are afraid of getting accused of it. So they're not willing to draw the line and say, no, you double down and you help black people who are being shot by police. You absolutely help them, and you make sure you help them. But you have no fear about saying, but we don't go burning down stores to do it. No, that was violence, and it was mobs, and it was kids having a joyride, by the way. Yeah, no, anyway. But again, and the left and on the right, forget it. I mean, again, at least we say this on the left. Good luck finding people on the right saying it who haven't been completely ostracized. I mean, you criticize that stuff on the right and you're just, right? You're gone from the Republican Party. At least the Democratic Party won't exile me for saying these things. The Republicans, woo, right? Hello from prison. If that's true, okay, hello. No, it's horrible. Yeah, Leslie, I'm putting your comment up. Yeah. No, it's these are real people. And actually what really bothered me too is people claiming they're Democrats and thinking that like burning down businesses is okay in general. Thinking that, for example, they were also talking about how some report, this is again, I remember now all the discussions they had with Democrats back then because it pissed me off. And people saying how, well, these are big, I know somebody said, they've all got insurance. The big companies have insurance. They can afford it. And I said, like my grocery store. I said, what about, I actually asked my grocery store how many employees. They've got 120 employees. Can you guess the color of the employees at my grocery store? I'm going to go for 97% black at my grocery store here. Wonderful grocery store. The nicest people. I mean, if they were mean people, I still wouldn't want them to lose their jobs. But I've gotten to know them over the years. The nicest people. And if you burn down that store, the insurance might cover Harris Teeter, the grocery store, but 120 blue-collar, black people of color who you claim to care about just lost their job. And they've got to find another one. And it was during COVID. And it was during COVID when businesses were closing down and jobs were hard to find. So it bothers me too, because I don't think it's liberal or democratic. We say liberal in America, meaning left, or democratic at all. I think there's an extremism. And again, it's worse on the right, because on the right now, it is literally going into this anti-democracy extremism. But on the left, we are too afraid. Honestly, Bernie Sanders did something the other day. And I mean, again, I told you, I'll talk about other politics sometimes too. Bernie Sanders put out a tweet and he was complaining, and he says corporate Democrats. Bernie Sanders calls anybody who isn't a socialist literally a corporate Democrat. And it means we've all been bought out by corporations. I wish to God I could be bought out by a corporation. Maybe I could retire if I could be bought out by a corporation. But anybody who doesn't agree with Bernie is a corporate Democrat. And he put out this tweet and he said, corporate Democrats are fighting against our nominees in primaries across the country. And he kind of went on like that. And it shows how Democrats are just, and he concludes like, it shows how Democrats are just like Republicans. Now, let's just, on multiple levels here, in a more general sense, tactically, Bernie Sanders is putting out a tweet comparing Democrats and Republicans and saying they're the same, like 5 months before an election where Democrats are expected to get killed. Okay. Maybe you shouldn't be putting out tweets telling people, both sides are the same. Who cares? Right? That's the first problem. The second thing was Bernie is claiming that you are a sellout. You are not a real Democrat, and you are just as bad as a Republican if in the primary, okay, the Democratic primary, you don't support the socialist candidate and you support any of the other Democratic candidates. What the? I mean, like, are you kidding me? Like that, to me, that is as draconian as the MAGA crowd and as the Tea Party crowd. Because it is this literally, if you don't do it my way, I will destroy you. And only my way is the right way. But I mean, that one really pissed me off, because literally you cannot attack. Oh, Cook County, we're not in Cook per se. The good thing about Cook County is it's huge. And actually, okay, well, now that you say that, that's funny you said that. She has a tornado watch. It's funny you say that, because I've got the device on my phone that warns me when there's tornado warnings and things. So thank you. But she has a watch, not a tornado warning. Whenever there are tornado warnings, I do call mom because she can't always hear. In any case, again, I will say this: over the years, these kind of discussions have gotten me into a lot of trouble. People on the left don't like it. People on the right just forget it. And people have always told me, they're like, you could say what you think. And, I think somebody wanted me to write a book. A guy who's at the Washington Post said, you should write a book about all of these things because you've got great views. And I talked to another friend of mine who said, and you know who would buy it? That guy and you. He's like, the people on the right won't like you because they won't think you're right enough. The people on the left will hate you because they'll think you're a traitor for criticizing them. And until now, I've been very careful about it. And finally, I'm getting older and I'm kind of like, you know what? I've kind of had it. And that's what I'm hoping to build with you guys, is maybe a bigger community of people where, honestly, we could be, my next visit to mom isn't going to be till August, mid-August. let's see where our community builds, because obviously we're not all one. Well, God, we're international as well. So that makes it even more confusing, right? American and non-American. And I know we've got some Republicans, we've got some Democrats, and it's hard on this stuff because, like, on the Trump stuff, it's hard for me to sugarcoat it. It's hard for me to be, to say, like, what is objective about Trump? Some people say January 6th was bad. You know what I mean? Like, what do you say? But I age can free, it's true. But I've always worried in the communities I build that there wasn't a community for, I don't want to say centrism, because I'm not necessarily center. I am on some things. On military, I am, so to speak. But on some stuff, I'm conservative. I would not call it conservative Democrat either. The reason why is, in America, conservative Democrats tend to be more conservative than liberal Republicans. Conservative Democrats, for example, are the ones that shoot down healthcare reform and stuff like that. The conservative Democrats are the ones that kill deals to get prescription drug prices down. So it's weird. Like, they're not, it's weird. Conservative Democrat, like Manchin, the senator who killed all of Biden's stuff, he's a conservative Democrat, and he just killed all the deals on healthcare and everything else. So it's this weird, it's a weird kind of category. I would almost say we're centric. I'm trying not to put political labels because I'm trying to be with all of you, but my views might be centrist Democrat. But on defense, maybe on defense, I'd be a Democratic hawk, we would say, or even a Republican hawk. I mean, I'm a hawk on defense, clearly, and honestly, even business. I don't think all business is evil, immigration. I'm not thrilled that 1 million people come across the border every year, to be honest. And you're not allowed to say that as a Democrat either. There's a lot of issues where but again, I feel like Republicans on immigration are simply Hungary, right? In Europe, you see it too. I feel like the conservatives on immigration are simply about hurting people. They simply don't like people. They're racist about it. They don't like people. And again, doesn't mean all of you out there, because again, I've got concerns about immigration. So I'm sure some of you are in my park, my ballpark, where you just don't like the idea of 1 million people crossing the border illegally a year. That's crazy. But people like Trump tried to use it for racism. People like Fox News talk about the caravans are coming because they're trying to make it racist about Mexicans. And let me tell you too, like, some of the best, I have been so impressed over the years with, especially, Central America, I'll say Central Americans in general, because in America, a lot of the immigrants we get from Latin America are Central Americans because they're close by. Mexico's on the border with us, right? And Central America. And I have been so impressed with the family values of the Latin Americans I meet from Central America. And when I say family values, I don't mean the crazy right wing. When they say family values, they mean anti-gay, this kind of crap, right? I mean family values as in caring about their families and sticking together and that kind of stuff. I've also been I was just going to say, did I say work ethic or not? I was going to say the work ethic. The work ethic I have seen among Central Americans, oh my God, who come to this country, oh my God. It reminds me of the Greeks in terms of what my family went through. And I will say this too. I'm going on too long. I'm going to stop after this and then we'll hang out. You got me going on too long and I didn't do more Q&A. I apologize, but hopefully this was interesting. I did a project for the State Department after 9/11. And I was working with them, trying to get trying to help do public relations about America literally after 9/11. And I came up with an idea of promoting stories of the foreign-born victims of foreign-born heroes of 9/11, because they kept telling me stories like they had on, oh, this guy was born in Syria, this guy was born here, this guy was born in Ghana, and he saved people on his floor at the World Trade Center. Thank you, Wandering. And I said, if we're trying to show the world that we are the world, that this wasn't just an attack on America, what about the foreign-born heroes? And I love the idea anyway of honoring. So I did this whole photo essay. I've got it on my computer. And I went and interviewed these people and their families. Some of these people survived, others died, but how some of them gave their lives for their coworkers. They refused to leave one of them was like on the 97th floor of the World Trade Center and talked to his wife. And I remember this guy, the Indian guy, and his wife said, "Get out of there. I know you. You're going to stay and try to help people. Get out. Promise me you will get out of there. I promise. I promise. I'll leave right now." He stayed to try to make sure everybody knew to get out. And at that time, the fire had gone too far and he died. And the stories of these people reminded me, and I was surprised actually, because what I thought was, I kind of figured every immigrant experience was unique. And not that any were better or worse, but just that they would be totally different. The stories I heard from Central Americans, Asians, Middle Easterners, Africans were the same story that I heard in my own family. My grandfathers came over for 20 years, 30 years before they got married. And then even once they got married, they came back and forth for, like, one of them for another 10 years from Greece. My family's from Greece. And getting the bride and then leaving her in Greece with the kids and sending money back and forth and visiting. And it's what people do today, right? I forget what you call it. The money that's sent back, like to El Salvador and Africa and these countries. It's the same story. I mean, anyway, I'll stop now, but so on the immigration thing, I get very upset at the anti-immigration people, but I get very upset at the people who think, let's just have, and I'm sorry, it kind of is open borders. They really don't freaking care about closing the borders at all. And that's ridiculous. And those people drive me crazy too, because, if your family can come in, then why can't my family come in? Why don't we let my family from Greece come if they want to come? If we're going to let, your family, I feel like I don't like it. Anyway, what is your view of the one world order? I don't know what that means, actually. Exactly. The trolls are all confused now. Wait a minute. Which side are we on? So anyway, that's enough for my soliloquy. Let's hang a little bit now. Twitchers, I'm glad to see so many of you still there. As I said, follow me, because apparently when I hit 50, I think I hit the magic number that lets me have subscribers. Who knows? I'm just learning Twitch. I'm new here. But lovely to see you guys. And I like the Twitchers because you're very, you weigh in a lot. You chat a lot, which is nice for your numbers. New World Order is a conspiracy theory? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I'm sure it involves Jews and bankers would be my guess, right? Let me see what we're saying here. Yeah, viciousness of trolls can be a problem everywhere, Leslie, and actually, and being a woman, even worse, because you've got to deal with, I have a friend who had to deal with this the other day with obnoxious guys. Oh, yeah, I'll do the recap. Obnoxious guys writing things. And as a woman, you get much nastier stuff than I get as a guy. And even what she received, I was like, oh my God, it was horrific what they wrote, and it's psychological warfare. It's meant to freak you out, All right, let me recap. So the S&P 500 dropped 3.9% today. The stock market dropped solid bear territory over fears about inflation and the need to raise interest rates more than was expected. The January 6th committee met today in its second open hearing, continuing to provide evidence that Donald Trump knew the election was not stolen, yet continued to present it that way publicly, and that Trump took in hundreds of millions of dollars that might have been taken in fraudulently. The Ukrainian government is saying they need a lot more weapons, including 1,000 howitzers and 500 tanks. And along the various fronts in the war, Severodonetsk, not much to report. Kharkiv, not much to report. This is the quickie, but there really isn't. Amnesty International says some major war crimes committed by the Russians in Kharkiv by using missiles and widely banned cluster munitions against civilians on purpose, or at least using them willy-nilly, that they didn't care who they hit, which is a war crime. In Kherson, the town in the southwest, or I say southwest-ish of Ukraine, the Ukrainian military, according to the Ukrainian government, had multiple successes in stopping the Russians from trying to advance. Foreign fighter update. Foreigners from 55 countries are serving in Ukraine's International Legion, we learned today. Lithuania, God bless Lithuania. We need to learn how to say that. My name on Twitch is the same as it is here on TikTok, Erevosis. That's my my screen name or whatever you call it, my handle. Lithuania is buying an additional 4 drones for Ukraine that it appeared to crowdfund for these drones too. I'm telling you, I want to crowdfund for drones for Ukraine. I just don't know how to do it. I mean, for like how we would actually get the money to the Ukraine for the drone, but I would love to do that. Mariupol update. Mariupol, the town that the Russians have been bombing for 3 months and finally got control over. 20,000 people were 22,000 people were killed in the town, citizens, according to initial Ukrainian estimates, and 50,000 people were forcibly deported to Russia and Russian-occupied territories. Boom. There you go. All right. Let's hang a couple of minutes just for fun. I'm tired. Ooh, I don't even know how I got on that roll, considering I'm exhausted from the thing we did this morning. Jeez. We did a thing this morning about the congressional hearings, actually, and I remembered for those who, tomorrow we will, of course, do what we always do. 6 p.m. Eastern time, we'll have our next update to talk about the latest on the war, and I'll throw in American politics as well, or world, depending what's going on. Wednesday morning, I cannot do the live for the next congressional hearing because I've got a doctor's appointment I totally forgot about, and it's in the middle of it. I've got to be there at 10:30, and I may be there for a couple hours, which I'm not thrilled about. I have to get an MRI, and I've had MRIs before, and scary as, I mean, like, boom, boom, boom. So I'm not looking forward to this. Sasha did get her walk. Yes, we took Sasha out. And it's funny, she was much better after we took the walk. So much better. I mean, it was funny, in fact. I wore you out. Then my work is done. But yeah, Sasha came back and she was like, No, she was pissed. Oh, you had an MRI today? Was it upper area where you have to be inside the crazy thing? That stuff just scared the hell out of me. I mean, I get it, but I'm a little claustrophobic. And I literally, for my MRI, I told he goes, okay, I'm going to wheel you in. Tell me when to start. Oh, thank you, Joe Doppale. I appreciate that. I don't know. I'll call you Joe. We'll call you Joe. But for the MRI, they said, I had one previously, and they said, okay, we'll wheel you in and tell us when you want us to start. And I was like, and I looked at the thing and I said, I am closing my eyes. Just wheel me in and do it. And I said, I am not opening my eyes until you pull me out of that thing. And at least that way I was able to calm down enough. I'm a little nervous because I've been having I still think this is tension, by the way, my asthma thing. I think it's asthma mixed with tension from everything going on. So I'm definitely taking something before the MRI. Yeah, I don't have Xanax, but I've got something else that should work just as well. So I am going to take it before the MRI. I have to, because especially now with the way my chest has been, and they're loud. The Scotch, I'm not really a Scotch guy. I was even in the airport in Edinburgh, and my plane was late, and I found they had like a Scotch tasting, or whiskey, as you all call it, a whiskey tasting. And I went up to the woman. I said, okay, you know what? I've never liked whiskey, but I want to know what I'm missing. Can you give me different samples of the good and the bad? I missed a YouTube question. Okay, point out what I missed, folks. The good and the bad. She had me try lots of different things, and I hated all of it. I told her, I said, I don't like any of it. I'm sorry. Oh, I did miss somebody's super chat. I'm sorry. Okay, just to tell the new folks, when I miss a super chat, it is easier if you can actually quote the super chat back at me. Tell me the person I missed and quote the super chat so I can actually answer the question, because I'm going to scroll back and try to see it, but it can sometimes be hard to see it. I don't know if they have an open-sided. They asked me if I was claustrophobic, and I said yes. So I'm hoping that might mean they have an open-sided one that I get. But I told you I'm bringing a pill with me, and hopefully, Okay, Xavier, Nathan, I'm still looking up here. Can somebody quote what your question? I'm trying to find it here. Quote what your question was. It's hard when I go back and try to. I'm trying, but I try to go back and find these things, and All I'm seeing is you saying, John, find my super chat. Hang on. Sorry about that. You must have put it when I was in the middle of my rant. I didn't even see it. Hang on. And if I don't find it shortly, quote it down below and I will answer. I apologize for that. I'm not seeing this at all. I am not seeing this at all. Yep. No. I don't know how I missed your super chat. This is weird. Hold on. I'm going to. God, unless it was way early on. I'm just scrolling because it's annoying me that I'm not seeing it, but I'm assuming at this point. Yeah, I'm literally seeing it nowhere. So tell me at the bottom what the question was. Yeah, but if it was on Twitch. Well, Twitch wouldn't be a super chat, but nonetheless, the question would have come here. What's your question? What's your question? Yep. I mean, Greg, no one. The only thing is I don't have symptoms of a lung. You know what I mean? I don't have fever or anything. But anyway, maybe he asked a Twitch question that I missed. Nathan's my buddy now. I've seen him a few times on here. Oh, I saw 2 Democrats and 1 Republican, but didn't know what that meant. I just saw you typed it and I was like, huh? Yeah, I didn't know what you were typing though. All right. Well, I'm going to hang a few minutes. Somebody fill me in if I missed something on his question. I'm happy to weigh in. I know meditation is good in MRI, also loud rock music. I mean, if I assume I can't use my own thing because it's metal, but if they've got like earphones, I certainly will wear those. That's for sure. But yeah, Nathan, I think Nathan, you're Xavier. Xavier, repeat the question and I am there for you. Magnitiki? I'm not sure what that means. Paneiamo. Ego monome narcosi boro. Magnitiki, what is that? Now I've got to pull up my translate and see what that means. Hold on. My Greek is etsiketsi. Merikes fores catalaveno, alis fores then catalaveno. So hang on, I'm pulling up my translate. Oops, here we go. My auto Google Translate, which we love. Okay, here we go. Auto detect. Magnetic. My I only with drugs. Not sure what that means. Magnitiki. Oh, magnitiki. You mean MRI? Magnitiki. That's how you say MRI. It figures magnetic is how you say MRI in Greek. Magnitiki. Oh, that makes sense. She says, Paneiamu, Virgin Mary. I can only do that with narcotics. Is it narcotics? Narcosi? I think that was, I'm going to guess that's what that means. I can only do it on drugs. That's very funny. Men narcosi. I guess I should have guessed what that was. Magnitiki. I did not know that was MRI. Now when I'm sick in Greek or when somebody asks, now I can be fancy. When somebody asks me, how do you say MRI in Greek? So magnitiki. And be the show off in my Greek. Adam totally should have spoken today. I don't understand why Adam Kinzinger did not speak today. It was crazy. It was crazy. Crazy. Yeah. No, I'm gonna bring a pill with me that at least is a decent calming. Well, the only thing is it makes me sleepy. It doesn't make me calm. It makes me sleepy. But, but yes, Adam, I talked at that at length earlier today on the morning thing. Adam, I'm calling you Adam Thomas. It was ridiculous not to have Kinzinger speak today. They had 2 Democrats speaking and 1 Republican. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, what do you do? Anyway, what else is going on, folks? Anything else? Bufos, exactly. But yeah, so we are doing tomorrow, our usual time, but I'm not, unfortunately, going to do the live on Monday morning. The next Senate hearing I'm going to miss. So Nathan's answering me on YouTube. God forbid, what is Nathan answering me on YouTube? I can't even imagine what I fear when Nathan is answering me on YouTube. as we'd say in Greek, Christos και Παναγία μου. like Christ and Virgin Mary, what's coming? I haven't drunk anything here, but if you mean me, the hearings are on Wednesday morning again. Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, Wednesday morning. Look at you, Twitchers, 21 of you. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it. Make sure you follow me, please. Actually, the rest of you, make sure you follow as well. Make sure you follow me on, let me see. The princess is asleep still. Yeah, she's asleep at the moment. Now, Sasha did make a number of appearances this morning when we were holding the marathon 3.5 hour. I did the recap, Elia. You missed it. Or Lily. I did the recap. Sasha made a number of appearances this morning. Damien's great. I know. Damien may even go with me. He goes, I live near there. I'll go with you. I was like, I wouldn't mind somebody going with me. Well, you know what's creepy too? MRIs are creepy anyway, just because the concept and, they're looking for bad stuff and all of that. You know what I mean? It's just creepy, So, but yeah, Damien's great. I enjoyed having him on today. I've always wanted to have Damien on before. He's cute. Thank you. He'll like that. Because he's a font of information, especially like I said, like Damien will start talking to you about, 14th century Europe, 15th century Europe and this kingdom and this. And I mean, the detail he's got of things is crazy, absolutely crazy. Really good. Yeah, just really good. Oops, hang on a second here. Thomas made the comment about Adam, which is exactly what my comment about 2 Democrats. Oh, there you go. That was my point. 2 Democrats. No, it was ridiculous. Two Democrats and 1 Republican. All you're doing is feeding the effort of Republicans to go, it wasn't fair. And frankly, Adam Kinzinger is really good. You want him out there. All right. I sent you the Twitch affiliate requirements on a Whisper, which is the messaging system Twitch has. I think actually they may even email it to me every day. Every day I'm getting after every Twitch after every broadcast, they send me an update of like the 4 categories and how close I am to each one or something. So that might be, I'm going to go and look at yours anyway, but that I think is like the number of days I've got to do this. And although I'm doing it every day, so I should have actually just done it. Oh, I think I see your message. I should have just done it earlier. Here it is, Slender Monk. To get Twitch affiliate, you need 50 followers, 3 average viewers, 8 hours of streaming, and then at least a week of streaming. Yeah, those are all easy. 50 followers, we're probably almost there already. 3 average viewers, we're almost up to that. The streaming 8 hours will be easy because I'm doing this every day. So it's just a matter of getting it may take a week to get the other ones there. Now, where do I look to see? I go to my channel. 62 followers. There you go. Thank you, guys. All right. Well, I've got the number of followers, so that's good. So now it's a matter of just getting enough of the time spent doing this, which I'll have. And actually, I will tell you a thing, since we're talking Twitch again, I'm still trying to figure out whether I do the Twitch affiliate yet, or whether we hold off a little bit, because so far I'm streaming these to multiple platforms and I like doing that. It's frankly easier than having a separate thing for Twitch. But if Twitch had the potential to monetize significantly, I would certainly be willing to do a separate broadcast on Twitch. Again, if the monetization is there, because I this is what I do for a living anyway. So if I could incorporate that, good night, Annette. If I could incorporate that as part of my, my work, I would do it. It got me wondering too, whether it's worth skipping the affiliate until I build a bigger audience on Twitch that then makes it worth doing a separate Twitch broadcast every day, right? So I mean, that's something, unless there's some advantage I don't know in doing the affiliate and starting my separate Twitch versus what I'm doing here on YouTube and TikTok and everything else. Wouldn't it be great to grow you here? No, I'll grow wherever. My thing is, and again, it's, after every stream, they send you an email with all the info. I would suggest you look into it. I only stream here, so I don't know how that works. Yep. No, I'm going to look into it for sure. It's just a matter, as I said, I may want to not apply yet until I build up more followers, and then it's financially worth it. And again, this is funny. This is something where, like, working in my field, again, people never realize this is my, I don't mean to be begging for money, but this is my job. And people on the left especially have never understood that. They're always like, why do you want to be paid for that? And it's like, because it's my job and I do it full time. How else am I paying the bills? And that's just that. I would like to figure this news broadcast thing into being a longer term project. So if Twitch can pay, I could do it as a second broadcast. It'll be tiring, but it's worth it if it's work, because then it's work, So anyway, we'll see. Yes, my profile pic. Well, I put the same profile pic on Twitch, the same profile pic on Twitch that I use on TikTok, and a couple other, maybe my Cash App and Venmo. And even if you look, I've even got it on the screen here, on my screen that I'm broadcasting. I'm trying to use it as almost a branding thing, because also I bring my dog a lot on here. She's actually sleeping now. I bring my dog on a lot, and we ironically call this the Sasha News Network, because her name is Sasha. So I like using that picture. So it's a bit of branding, although the bad guys have already stolen it on TikTok. But I've gotten even with them. Great CNN correspondent. Well, from your mouth to CNN's ears. No, I've done a lot of CNN in the past. I'd love to do more CNN. I just, I don't sort of know. I know the reporters. I don't know the current crop of producers who hire you, but I know a few of the reporters, professionally. I would do exclusive content as well. I would do it for subscribers or something. Yeah. Again, Syndicate and I are going to have a talk probably tomorrow when it's during the day, just because he knows Discord and was going to give me some advice on that. But I would absolutely, what I don't want to do is create something that's so onerous that it's impossible to keep up. But if I could find a way and also at the same time, I want to get the Ukraine stuff matters. So I want to get the Ukraine news out there, right? So I don't want that to be behind a paywall. But if there was something extra I could put beyond a paywall for people, naked content, that's not going to happen. You couldn't afford me, Nathan. Yeah. Well, people said that last night or the night before. They were like, what, OnlyFans or whatever they are? They're like, yeah, do an OnlyFans. You couldn't afford me. But I would absolutely do a subscriber only content in addition. That would be fine. But it's just a matter of figuring out what that is. What would people want? What would they be willing to pay for? What are you giving them that's enough value, that's worth it? That kind of stuff. So, oh no, let me ask you something about Twitch though. Do you get okay. I've got followers now, but are subscribers when you're an affiliate? Or can subscribers happen now that I have 50 followers? Or do you only get subscribers when you've got an affiliate? Sasha t-shirt, she wants to go out now. That's actually very true. That would be very true. And you all may want to drink, because I'm about to turn up the temperature on my room here, or turn down. Now that would be hilarious. Doing an OnlyFans for Sasha. That would be hilarious. Except that I wouldn't want somebody to get perverted on me, right? That would be creepy if they took it the wrong way. But yeah, that's very funny. Oop, and there's more. Tornado warning. Well, there's a tornado warning east of Mom, depending which way it's going. It's funny you guys are saying this, because then, although I don't think Mom's got the tornado warning, maybe she does. Let me see here. Other locations. I think it's going east. Oh, and why is it going so far west? Okay. Yeah, just outside of Mom's territory for the tornado warning. All right. I'm keeping an eye on this. You guys are scaring me. Didn't I take a picture of what she wrote? What the lady said yesterday? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Subscribers are an affiliate thing. Got you. Oh, I did. Yeah, that was Joanna. Joanna, I took a picture of what I forgot. Subscribers were affiliate though. Okay. Yeah, I took a picture of what she wrote, and she follows me, and I follow her now. So she said she's happy to answer questions and stuff, which is very helpful. Yeah, Nathan. Yeah. You know this. Oh, interesting. Thank you, the inspired woman, for that musical notes. I like the colors of those things. Actually, the purples are like purples and reds and sunset colors are. I like those a lot. Those are my favorites. Well, that's what we're saying. SNN for the Sasha News Network. Oh, that's exactly what we're jokingly. We call this the Sasha News Network. My concern is that nobody knows what the hell that is, and it sounds silly. People do not have tornado shelters, but we have basements. So you go down to the basement when there's a tornado warning that is, that's looking bad for your area. Now, one of the concerns there is with tornado warnings is that you've got that you have the conditions. So like if there's a tornado here, that same cluster could form a tornado near you guys. Just looking here. Although this is interesting. This one is an interesting tornado warning. It's a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado. That's interesting because usually the warnings I see are it's happening, Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that, Syndicate. Really? Most of the profile names are already named that way? What? I'm sorry, but what do you mean? Most of the profile names are already named what? Or you mean most of the profiles already use their last name over there? Or what do you mean? Speak to me. Yeah, I'm going to send a text to the nephew just warning him. She probably knows, though. The nephew lives with my mom. One moment. Sending him a text. Nearby tornado warnings. But no, we've got a nice basement, and there's a nice crawl space, or not a crawl space, but a little space under the stairs that we have as a cupboard. And it's nice because it's just in the middle of the house under the stairs. It's very, it would seem to be very protected. So how about Discord? Remy? Sure, potentially. Yeah. Now, where are you, Remy, anyway? I mean, looking at your name, I'm always assuming you're in Canada or France. The last name, Sedeye. Or is it Spanish? Is it Sedege? Silly names is always a good way to generate more views, even when you're discussing a serious matter. Really? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So I've got too serious of a name? Oh, you mean serious? Oh, you mean Sasha News Network? I see what you mean. Yeah. Yep. Oh, sirens. Yeah, once there's sirens, you go downstairs to the basement. Yeah, get the latest news on the Ukraine-Russian war from John Aravosis and the entire SNN news team. That would be like all of the moderators and probably you guys. Like the SNN news team. Although SNN people would think it was like a totally serious thing, which is funny. No, I need to learn Twitch culture more clearly. What else? Oh, downtown. That's downtown. You mean the warning is downtown by Wabash and the museums? Wow. Let me see here. SNN. Yeah, like social security number, SSN. Interesting. All right, guys. Thank you, Slender Monk. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's true. My Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok are all Aravosis. Yeah. So it might be good to make that the brand name. No, it's true. Now, the other brand I have out there is my blog, which is America Blog, that I've had forever. And I've got the URL, which is nice because it's americablog.com. I haven't updated it in months because I don't, with everything going on here, but it's a nice brand, but you're right. I've got the names for myself on all those things anyway. I might, especially because TikTok and Twitter are my largest. Thank you, Irish, for the hat. Irish centrist dead. Because my biggest followers, I'm going to create a Patreon probably. I haven't yet, but I probably will. Yeah. But you're right. My biggest followers are on my Erevosis accounts at TikTok and Twitter. So right there, you don't know Twitch culture either. All right, guys, let me sign off because it's 8:00. I've now gone another 2 hours in addition to my 3.5 hours this morning. I am absolutely exhausted. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. I know I will get the affiliate, although as we said, I may do it. I don't know. Let's see if I do it after. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. But thank you guys for following me. All of you, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, if you're out there. And of course, as always, TikTok, fabulous TikTok. We love you the most. Well, not the most. Sorry. I wasn't supposed to say that. I was supposed to say that after they leave. Christy, thank you. Oh, I've been missing that, Christy. Thank you. I forgot about that. All right, guys. All right. Good night, all of you folks on here and TikTokers. Catch up with the goodbyes so I know you've seen it. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow, 6 p.m.